Hello, everybody. Today is 10th of March. My name is Sahil, and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, today, that is 10th of March, marks the death anniversary of Savitri Bai Phule, who was the first feminist thinker as well as the first female educator in India. She had led the social crusades about the caste oppression, role of education, giving education to the women. She says, "We become animal without wisdom. Sit idle no more, go get education, and misery of the oppressed and forsaken." Now, Savitri Bai Phule's idea of education is not just acquisition of literacy, but to acquire wisdom, which in fact is the true meaning of the education. Guys, please do utilize this particular idea into GS paper number 2, questions related to the social justice education. So that is all for the today's GS folder, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Now, friends, taking up the first article, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here the Supreme Court has questioned the center government with respect to forming of the environmental regulator. Now, guys, before going into this particular article, let's see some of the background information. So, this story starts from 2010 when the Lafarge Cement Company, which was a French company, it was banned from mining the limestone from the East Khasi Hills of Meghalaya. The reason was given that the Lafarge is mining from an ecologically sensitive region, so therefore the mining rights cannot be given. Now, guys, further Lafarge presented their case into the Supreme Court and appealed that the mining is being carried in sync with all the environmental safeguards as well as the mining activity as well as cultural traditions of Meghalaya go hand in hand. And even Lafarge also said that they have taken the permission from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now, guys, here the Supreme Court allowed the Lafarge to mine into Meghalaya, but Supreme Court proclaimed that there is National Forest Policy of 1988 and directed the center, particularly the Ministry of Environment, that whenever such kind of permissions are being given, they need to consider the far-reaching principles, far-reaching implications onto the environment, and even Environment Protection Act of 1986 has given such kind of mandate also. Further, Supreme Court also provided that apart from considering all such kind of matters, there is also an urgent need that a national regulator for appraising such kind of projects are to be taken up. It will not only appraise the project but will also enforce the environmental conditions for approving and will also impose the penalties onto the polluters. So guys, the body was to be established. Now, what had happened? We have reached 2021, but up till now, such kind of regulator has not been established, and this particular thing was raised into a PIL into the Supreme Court. And now, the Supreme Court has questioned that why such a big delay has been there in setting up the environmental regulator. Moreover, the Supreme Court has also identified that there are other lapses also into the environmental regulation. For example, the Wildlife Board of India has not been met into the past 6 years. So therefore, we can see that the approach of government has not been very much expedient when dealing with the environmental matters. So guys, that is all about this particular article. Guys, please do utilize such kind of examples into your GS paper number 3 with respect to answers related to the environment, ecology and conservation. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, this article has been taken again from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the increase into the cases filed under the UAPA, that is the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about this particular legislation, it was chiefly created so that any activity that is directed against the integrity and the sovereignty of India, it can be curtailed, and onto very limited scale, it was to be utilized. Now, guys, under the APA Act, the state police as well as the National Investigation Agency will investigate the matter where it is perceived that an attack on integrity or sovereignty was made. Moreover, guys, there are also the NIA special courts which will deal with all these particular matters, and right now there are 48 NIA courts which has been established throughout the length and breadth of the country. Now, guys, the people who are charged under the APA, the bail is very much rare into such kind of cases, and within 180 days the charge sheet has to be filed. Now, it has been provided into this particular article that, guys, a reply has been given by the Ministry of Home Affairs into the Lok Sabha, and had provided that there has been sharp increase into the cases registered under the APA. You can see here, guys, into the graph that in 2015 there were 897 cases which was registered and 1128 people were arrested, and there has now been sharp increase. In 2019 it was 1226 cases have been registered and 1948 person have been arrested. And further we can see that the highest cases have been registered in Manipur, where 306 cases have been registered. Now guys, apart from all this information, I would also like to point out one more related news which was there into the newspaper few days back. According to a reply given by government into the Lok Sabha, government said that only 2.2% cases of APA had led into the conviction. So it guys means that 98% people they were arrested merely onto the charges of suspicion, and it is clearly a violation of the fundamental rights that have been given. And guys, we can see that the enforcement agencies indiscriminately they are utilizing the APA whenever some person is challenging the authority, challenging the government, or raising just their dissent. So into this particular direction, the government, the enforcement agencies need to reconsider the applications of the APA into many of the cases. So that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about recent report submitted by the Parliamentary Standing Committee onto the rural development, which has slammed the government that government has been very insensitive in dealing with the social payment transfers to the vulnerable sections. Now, guys, into this particular capacity, you need to understand that there is the National Social Assistance Program, where the pension is to be given to the elder, widows, as well as physically challenged. Now, this particular pension aims that these people can live a life of dignity, and by this particular money, they can fulfill all the basic needs of their life. But just let's here see the money that is being given. So, guys, approximately 200 to 500 rupees a month are being given to the senior citizens into the BPL households. To the widows, 300 to 500 pension is being given, particularly to the widows who are over 40 years and are into the BPL households. Then, guys, onto the disability, 300 rupees per month are being given for the people between 18 to 79 years, and they are also needed to be the BPL households. And the family benefits onto the death of a breadwinner are given up to 20,000 rupees. Then, guys, further there is also the Annapurna scheme, where 10 kg of food grains per month for senior citizens are being given who are not receiving any kind of pension. So basically you can see that the transfer payment that is being made, it is just a lip service, and into such a less amount a person cannot fulfill any of the basic dignities of the life. And therefore the center had pulled the Department of Rural Development that their approach has been very much careless, and repeatedly they have been urged that the amount of pension needs to be increased, but nothing has been done into this particular regard. Even Department of Rural Development have not done enough to handle the concerns into the MG Narega. Now, guys, under the MG Narega, first of all, there are the delays into the payment that are to be made. Moreover, guys, there are the different wages that are being given into the different state. Now, a question comes that when there is one scheme, why the different rates are there, and into the times of pandemic, why no regard is being given so that there are no delay in release of payment. And into all this particular direction, the Department of Rural Development needs to take the urgent steps. So, guys, this is all the matter that has been given here. Now, you might be knowing that into GS paper number 2, there is one particular section that is the schemes for the welfare of the vulnerable sections and the assessment of this particular schemes. So there you can utilize this particular article, as well as how social justice is not being given to the people adequately. There also you can utilize it as a case study. So that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the patriarchal mindset that has struck the judiciary, and because of it, into the recent times, there have been many unprogressive judgments where the women rights, women autonomy has not been taken into the consideration. Now, guys, first of all, into the article, there is some data that has been given with respect to the women's sexual abuse. Now, according to the Thomson Reuters Foundation survey, which was carried in 2018, it was said that India is the most dangerous country for the women. Moreover, guys, according to the report given by the National Crime Record Bureau, provides that as many as 32,000 rapes were reported in 2019. That is 88 incidents of rape every day. And the reported rape cases have increased by 88% into the last decade. And further, there are 4 lakh cases of crime that were filed against the women in 2019. So, therefore, it shows that how there is a dismal regard for the women rights as well as for the women's independence. Now, guys, into this particular regard, even the judiciary is also having the similar kind of attitude or outlook. Guys, recently the Chief Justice of India was criticized because of a remark that he made where he asked that whether a person who was accused of rape is having any intention of marrying with the rape survivor. Though later the CGI tried to correct his statement, but there was a huge criticism was made. Moreover, guys, recently the judiciary also made a remark onto the marital rape. It was said that when two people, that is husband and wife, they are living together, then guys, there can be no possibility of a marital rape. Now, guys, into the article, there are many examples which have been given that how into the recent past also such kind of judgments and observations have been made. Now, guys, into the article, there is mention of the section number 165 of the Indian Evidence Act 1872, which gives the power to the judges that into a course of a judicial inquiry, they can ask any type of questions. And into this particular direction, the questions such as marrying with the rape survivor, etc., are being made. Now, guys, this is all indicative of the patriarchal mindset. Now, when the rape, etc., is being questioned, then, guys, a very good observation was made in 2013 by the Justice J.S. Verma Committee, which said that rape should be viewed not as an infringement of women's chastity or virginity, but as a violation of her bodily integrity and sexual autonomy. This autonomy cannot be permanently lost by entering into marriage. So, therefore, there is no unparalleled power that has been given to the male. Rape remains rape irrespective of the relationship. So, there is a marital rape also which is possible, and it should not be connected with the purity or chastity, etc. No, guys, here ample of examples have been given where into the recent past the judiciary had made the patriarchal observation. For example, we can see that few years ago the Supreme Court orally asked a convict who had molested a girl that he should fell at her feet, and that if the women forgive him, the court will also reduce the sentence. Moreover, guys, it has also been recently seen that the Bombay High Court gave a ruling where it ordered that the sentence of the rape could be reduced if the convict agrees to pay 1 lakh rupees to the victim. And then there is also the horrific Bhavari Devi case where the Rajasthan High Court gave various absurd reason for the acquittal order. The Rajasthan High Court provided that the higher caste men cannot rape a lower caste women for the reasons of purity. For and further, it also said that her husband could not have watched his wife being raped. And then also it said that the men who are 60, 70 years could not commit rape, as well as a rape cannot be committed in front of another relative. So, guys, such kind of absurd arguments were given by the Supreme Court as well as many of the high courts. And, guys, such kind of tradition is going on even into the recent Hadia case in 2017. The Kerala High Court made the observation that the women Hadia is not having any choice with respect to the partner that he chooses for her life. The interfaith marriage here was not given all the due place as per the spirit of the constitution. So, guys, therefore, it has been said that the judiciary is afflicted with the patriarchal mindset, and overly again and again criticizing one particular judge will not be making a sense. Rather, this mindset into the judiciary is needed to be criticized and it needed to be get rid of. So, guys, this is all which has been carried into this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. This article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the cyber volunteer program that has been initiated by the Ministry of Home Affairs to promote the cyber hygiene into the country. So basically, there will be a cybercrime grievance portal onto the cybercrime.gov.in. Now, here the people can go and they can report various content which is unlawful or it is promoting the distrust into the society. And according to the government, this initiative was very much needed because there are huge challenges of the cyberspace which are flowing from the vastness and the borderless character of the cyberspace. So, into this particular cyber volunteer program, program, a kind of a pooled effort is being made so that the clean internet, clean content can only be circulated onto the social media. Now, guys, there are also the concerns which have been flagged. For example, the Internet Freedom Foundation had said that it is nothing but an attempt to create the culture of surveillance where government will report all the matter which is talking against the government. And here, guys, a kind of a tendency will increase where the fellow citizens will flag all the content by the other fellow citizens, and into the end the freedom of speech and expression will be severely curtailed. Moreover, it has also been seen that recently the Ministry of Home Affairs had operationalized the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal into the August 2019, and here a kind of a centralized mechanism has been created where the citizens can do the online reporting of all types of cyber crimes incidents, and the special focus onto the cyber crimes against women and children is being made here. And since the inception of this particular initiative, more than 3,17,000 cybercrime incidents have been reported, and more than 5,700 FIRs have been registered into this particular regard. So, guys, this particular step is a double-edged sword where something respite will be coming as an avenue for the cyber reporting will open up, and we have seen that recently cyber crimes have increased many a folds. But onto the other hand, guys, as this cyber volunteer program is there, it might also bring the implication and might create a culture of surveillance also. So that is all about this particular article, guys, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is a critical analysis of the recent decision taken by the Sri Lanka, where the West Container Terminal has been given to the India in exchange to the East Container Terminal that India was earlier supposed to develop. First of all, guys, well, let's understand the present structure of the Colombo port into the Sri Lanka, where all this development is happening. Now, guys, into the Colombo port, there are 5 terminals which are presently there. Number one is the Unity Container Terminal. Then, guys, there is Jaya International Terminal or Jaya Container Terminal. Then, guys, there is the South Asia Gateway Terminal, SAGT. Then there is CICT, that is the Colombo International Container Terminal. This is being developed by the China. And then there is the East Container Terminal, ECT, that was to be developed by the India and Japan, from where the Sri Lanka has removed now India and Japan. Now, initially it was said that India and Japan are being removed because the Buddhist clergy of the country as well as trade unions, they are against the foreign investment that is coming. But, guys, this particular argument was not having any substance because already the Chinese presence is there into the substantial numbers. After that, the reason was given that the Adani ports, which will develop the East Container Terminal, operationalizes a dozen of terminals into the India also. So there will be the conflict of interest. So therefore, the backlash was there. However, guys, into a sudden turn of events, after 1 month time, it was seen that the Sri Lanka gave an entirely a new project to India and Japan, that is the West Container Terminal, which will be situated at this particular place. Now, it into this West Container Terminal, also the high stakes were given to the India and Japan. Earlier, 49% of stakes to India and Japan were to be given into the ECT, but now in WCT, the 85% stakes are being given. Now, into this particular new project, there are some of the controversies which have also been erupted. Now, the Sri Lanka had said that the Adani ports are being given this particular project, but a question comes that how into a new investment automatically the name of Adani ports have erupted. Now, guys, the India had distanced from the Sri Lanka and had said that there is no Indian involvement into this particular statement that has been given by the Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka had now justified this particular matter by saying that as earlier the Adani was involved into the ECT and now just the location has been changed, we assumed that Adani will be the principal developer here also. Now, guys, into the article, there have been given that what are the substantial differences between the ECT and the WCT. First of all, when we talk about the ECT, East Container Terminal, it is not entirely a project which is to be developed from the scratch. It is partially functional. For example, here we can see that already a 600-meter quay wall, backyard, gate complex, etc. have been developed. And now this development was to augment the operations and cargo transfers, and estimated 700 $600 to $800 million investment was there. However, the WCT is an entirely a new project and there is no physical infrastructure. And now, guys, as it is a new project, it will take a greater investment and more time to be profitable. So, guys, though the 85% stakes are being given, but it is not entirely into the benefit of the India also. And there is also one more thing comes that, guys, now though the WCT has been given, but still completely the protest by the trade unions have not been reduced. There are still many of the sections which are having the problem with this initiative also. So now into the future, we need to very carefully observe that how this new development into the Sri Lanka will be unfolding. Now, guys, there have also been some of the statistics have been given that how Sri Lanka inherently needs the foreign investment for their port development. According to the experts, it have been said that Colombo port has the potential that it can become the international hub, but it will be needing the foreign collaborations. Now, into the context of Colombo, 81% of the cargo that is coming, it is a transshipment cargo, that is it is to be diverted to the other countries, and only 19% of the cargo is the domestic cargo. And, guys, 70% of the transshipment business is linked to the Indian market, so therefore Indian participation is also very much crucial for the Sri Lanka. So, guys, that is all about the issues with respect to the two terminals, that is the ECT and WCT, and all the matter that have been unfolded into the past few days. So, guys, that is all about the important articles into the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it. Thank you so much.